Hi, and welcome to Podpadstudios, episode 19. Yeah, well, as you probably gathered, or didn't probably from that amazing intro, this episode, or this series, mini-series in fact, is going to be all about the obsession with building Daleks.
And owning them. And we're going to meet a load of people who build them, own them, got obsessive about them.
Very much so. Did that hurt?
So first person we're going to meet is Ady.
Ady
Davies.
Davies.
Really, basically, it's all Ady's fault.
Yeah. We haven't got the t-shirts printed yet, but we will get them done. It's Ady's fault. Now, who is Ady? Well, Ady is basically, how should we describe him? The granddaddy, the father, the uncle, the
root cause of the problem.
The root cause of the problem. There are, I could count quite a lot of people that really would not have Daleks in their workshops, in their sheds, in their kitchens, in lots of different places,
Under
if
their
it
stairs.
wasn't for Ady.
So let's meet Ady.
Hi everyone, this is Ady, and this is Dalek Hillman and Dalek Phil. So Ady, what got you into Daleks?
My little brother. He built Phil for me for a Christmas present.
That was a heck of a Christmas present.
Heck of a little brother.
Wow. And what happened? Tell us about the story about how it came into being.
There was talk about the Dalek Builders Guild, which was an old-fashioned Dalek building club, going up to the Edinburgh Tattoo and taking on the army. Well, I sort of wanted a bit of that.
And you were in the army at the time?
Yeah. It would be quite nice to be able to hide so nobody recognised me and get on with it.
So you wanted to be in the Dalek?
Yeah. So I told Gareth I wanted a Dalek, and his question was, what sort of Dalek do you want? And I went, well, one like they have on Doctor Who.
And what was it about Doctor Who that you really liked?
Not a lot. It was the Dalek. I from about 9 years old, I was seriously into sport, and I joined the army at 16. So from sort of 9 to 16, I didn't know what a telly was.
Wow.
Well, I did, but I
said
didn't
you were
technically watch it.
competing
Yeah,
in cross-country and
I was
boxing?
doing archery for Somerset and Britain. I was doing cross-country for Wiltshire and a little bit of boxing for Somerset. So I was pretty involved most evenings and things doing something. So I hardly watched TV at all.
And you described yourself as a sci-fi virgin.
That's how people described me when I first started, because I knew nothing about sci-fi. I was asked to go to an event where Sylvester McCoy was, and I thought he was off of Star Trek.
Oops.
I have apologised to him since.
So tell us about the Daleks. Why are they called Hillman and Phil?
Well, Phil, as I said, Gareth asked me what sort of Dalek I wanted, and I didn't know there was different Daleks, so he started listing them all off. And when he came to the Genesis Dalek, I said, I want one of them.
Okay.
Because Peter Gabriel lives down in Box, which is about 1.5 miles away. So I thought, well, if Peter Gabriel's down there and Phil's here, we've almost got Genesis.
Okay, so Mr. Collins.
Yeah. And Hillman is because he's the special weapons Dalek of the Imperial Dalek Force.
Yeah.
So he's a Hillman imp.
We thought there might be an imp connection somewhere.
Yeah.
So I have to say that Master Maker probably got into building Daleks because of you. It's actually your fault.
Funnily enough, I get the blame from a lot of people. A friend of mine who's thinking of starting a Facebook page called It's All Ady's Fault.
Yes.
And you might meet him because he's got big red.
Okay, all right, yes. Maybe later, guys. So there's two different types of Dalek build. There's ones where it's completely remote control, like Vicky, and there's also ones where the person gets inside. So what type is your Dalek?
They were initially both climbing, driving
Yeah.
ones. Phil still is. I've made Hillman now as a static prop to save weight when he's moving around and everything.
Okay.
So, but Phil's sort of built on a wheelchair. Goes around and is probably the most sarcastic Dalek you'll ever meet.
I have to say that your operation of him is just legendary. I mean, know a lot of people that have got squirted by water, chased, abused, and generally hassled by Dalek Phil.
Yeah.
You don't deny it.
I still think my best one, there was a young chap down in Dorchester who I I got to be honest, he's a really, really nice lad, but he's got autism and Asperger's, and he thinks that he feels groupy. And I do sort of change my personality when I get into Phil, because I wouldn't say half the stuff that I do when people can see me. And it was one of those times where it's a noisy event and then it all goes quiet. And at the time it went quiet, this lad said, as he's walking round with his arm round Phil, so I've got to go careful where I'm moving and everything else, I was here last year, do you remember me? And I said, yes, I'm still having therapy, and the whole place collapsed and left.
So let's talk a little bit about the events. I mean, you must have taken these to loads and loads of events over the years.
Yeah, I'd hate to count how many. I think at last count, monetary-wise, we've raised over £120,000 since we've been doing this.
Wow, that is brilliant. And that's kind of how it all started, really, isn't it? With the Dalek bills and the events and the fundraising.
Yeah, again, Gareth was raising money for charity and everything. Apart from the fact of being able to go and shoot a few squaddies with a water pistol, the fact that they can raise loads of money. It's, you know, with the Dalek, I went to an event to help collect for Poppy Day, and on his own he raised £300 in one day when I first got him. I think I'd only had him a week.
And what other charities did you collect for? Marie Curie?
Yeah, Marie Curie was one of the main ones, because I bumped into Dave Smith, and we started doing that. We did the balloon fiesta in Bristol one year, and we were the highest collectors by far.
Yeah. And what's your
British Heart Foundation.
Favourite event you've been to?
My favourite event, I think.
You actually arranged some yourself, so I suppose you have to say your own events, really.
I was going to say, I think Corsham has got to be very, very high on the list, if not top, once it was done.
Yeah.
The events at the Fleet Air Arm Museum were always good, because it was a big social event, because there was lots of us there.
Yeah.
And we were really well looked after and really appreciated. So that made it different. And there was little bits that just stand out. Like, I forgot to unplug my empty child one night, and he was up on the mez flooring in Yeovilton Air Museum, and the security guard just used ambient light to go and do his patrol, and he reckons about 2 o'clock in the morning he had to ring his wife and ask for a new pair of underpants.
That's brilliant.
The empty child had a PIR detector go into a speech unit, and it went, "Are you my mummy?"
Oh no. I have to admit, one of my abiding memories of Corsham is being chased by an alien, and it was very, very scary. I remember that.
There's a few. One of my friends came out dressed as I think he was a scarecrow from the Family of Blood. And he walked out of the green room, and there was an old lady there who promptly left a spot on the carpet. That was...
Dear viewers. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for talking to me. Really, really appreciate it. And we'll be doing more on Daleks over the next few weeks, guys. So if you're a Dalek and Doctor Who fan, tune in. Thanks, Ady, for introducing us to Hillman and Phil. Brilliant. And it was great to see them. We also had a little chat to Ady while we were there about all his fundraising activities with Charity Sci-Fi.
Charity Sci-Fi, yeah. Yeah,
so we're going to do an episode in a few weeks' time all about fundraising, cosplay groups, this sort of stuff, and we'll put that in there. So now we've got to talk to someone else who owns a Dalek.
Yes. My obsession with Daleks, and mind you, I've only got one at the moment, started with Victoria, who's behind us. So we're going to find out a little bit more about Victoria now, and what inspired her.
Yeah, have a look at this. This is the bit from Birth to Mutant.
Why doesn't that work? So I have to admit to being a Dalek builder. Now, I wasn't always a Dalek builder. I got into it, I was forced into it. We're not going to mention who forced me into it. I was quite happy building droids. I built my R2-D2, quite happy with that, and obviously then we built Emmy, then I built Zoe. They went out and they did a lot of charity sort of events, and to be perfectly honest, I wasn't the slightest bit interested in building a Dalek. I built K9 because I love K9, and I know it's Doctor Who, but basically Daleks, just not interested. At the time, the only Daleks I'd really seen were ones that people were driving around inside, which to me seems like a bit of a nightmare, really, being inside this dark, smelly box. And no, so I wasn't interested at all. However, as time went on, and obviously we've got our R2-D2, we had Emmy, we had Zoe, we had K9, the urge to build something else kind of crept in. So eventually I did succumb, and I built a Dalek. Now, which Dalek? I mean, there were lots of Daleks around to choose from. There, you know, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you can go back through the history of the Daleks, and there's hundreds of them that you could actually build. But I wasn't really that taken by any of them, and I've seen some amazing builds of different Daleks. The one that kind of struck me was Dalek Khan. Now, for those of you that don't know, Dalek Khan was that's the one with the mutant inside. And I just so happen to have a mutant here. Now, the mutant kind of sat in the middle here, and it didn't have the top section. And it was there was kind of ooze and gunge and bits of latex and webs and all sorts of things. And basically, this is what I built. And all of these were articulated, all of these kind of moved. It had tentacles that came out, and the whole thing was very organic, the big eye in the middle that looked around at you. And it was built in this idea, it was a cutaway, so you could see everything kind of working inside, which really kind of suited my sort of build. Now, the reason that Dalek Khan is not here now is it was also a pain in the backside. Technically, there were so many things that went wrong with it. It was incredibly complicated. I think in total there were about 57 servos just to operate the mutant and everything. And it seemed like a really good idea at the time. But then things started to fail because I had to build it on a budget. I just didn't have the kind of money that you need to throw at a project like that to make it work reliably. So really, that's the reason that Dalek Khan was scrapped. And it sounds awful, but yeah, Dalek Khan went to the Dalek heaven. We then end up with, if you like, Dalek Khan Mark II. Now, Dalek Khan Mark II was a little bit different. I love steampunk, and the idea of combining steampunk with a Dalek seemed like a really, really good idea. And if I could bring the Dalek Khan idea into it with the kind of cutaway section, that would be really, really cool. And basically, that's what I did. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Victoria. Now, Vicky is, in effect, she is Dalek Khan, but she's a mechanical Dalek Khan. So all these linkages move around. These are her kind of arms, her eye articulates. She's got a huge big water cannon here, which is done as a Gatling gun, which all spins up. Everything is cut away, lots of smoke effects. And it's kind of Dalek Khan, but a mechanical steampunk version of Dalek Khan. A lot of people ask me, they say, what's your favourite Doctor Who? Who are you? Are you a David Tennant? Are you a Matt Smith? Are you a John Pertwee? What's your Doctor? And do you know what? I don't really have a favourite Doctor Who, but what I do like about Doctor Who is good writing and good stories. And stories like, the Amy Pond story with Matt Smith. River Song, my favourite character, no question, in Doctor Who. You've got kind of Rose and the idea of the bad wolf and all the backstories, and I love that kind of thing. And you know what? I know this probably won't go down very well, but I didn't really like the last two Doctor Who's, the last two generations. Not because the actors were bad, the actors were superb, because they were given lame storylines. And they were just not very good stories, in my opinion. And, if you give a performer, if you give them a good script and you give them a good story, they're going to produce the most amazing performance. And in my opinion, those stories weren't up to it. But that's just my opinion, But that doesn't change the Daleks, the ultimate baddies. So that's the end of part one of our Dalek mini-series, basically obsessing over building Daleks. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be meeting lots of other obsessive people who are building Daleks, and it's really exciting. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell to get the notifications so you can kind of keep up with what we're doing.
Exterminate.
I need a new co-host.
Bye.